Across the globe, tens of thousands of animals live behind fences and glass. In zoos, sanctuaries, safari parks, and private collections, they live among humans. For many visitors, these animals offer wonder, education, and entertainment. But for the animals themselves, especially predators like lions and tigers, the reality is complex. Now imagine a global law is passed tomorrow: zoos are banned. No more animal exhibits. No more cages. No more viewing animals on display. What happens next, especially to the most dangerous and symbolic species, captive big cats? Would they be released? Rewilded? Relocated? Or quietly euthanized behind closed doors? Let's begin with the numbers. There are currently over 20,000 big cats in captivity worldwide. Lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, cheetahs, many born in captivity, some taken from the wild. In the United States alone, there are more tigers in backyards and roadside zoos than exist in the wild worldwide. Most of these animals live in accredited zoos, private collections, or breeding programs. If zoos were suddenly banned, their future would become incredibly uncertain. The first and most pressing issue would be relocation. Zoos couldn't simply let them go into the wild. Captive bred lions and tigers have never hunted, never roamed, never faced predators. They don't fear humans. They don't understand territorial hierarchies. Releasing them into the wild would be a death sentence, for them and others. They would starve, clash with territorial wild cats, or approach villages out of confusion. Even if they survived, they could spread disease or disrupt fragile ecosystems. For rewilding to work, animals need gradual rehabilitation over months or years. And even then, the success rate for large carnivores is extremely low. The second challenge would be sanctuary capacity. There are only a limited number of ethical, well-funded big cat sanctuaries worldwide. Many are already full, or close to it. Transferring thousands of cats would require space, staff, veterinary care, and massive funding. Some animals are elderly, ill, or genetically bred in ways that make them unfit for survival. Others are too habituated to people to live anywhere but in secure enclosures. In the best-case scenario, the healthiest cats might find refuge in protected, off-display environments. But the rest? Their future is far less certain. Then comes the legal chaos. If zoos are banned, what happens to all the private owners, roadside menageries, and illegal breeders? Would they be forced to surrender animals? Would the government take custody of thousands of tigers, lions, and cougars overnight? Would breeders destroy animals to avoid legal consequences? Would there be a black market boom for big cats, smuggling them into other countries? The risk of trafficking and exploitation would skyrocket without a global enforcement framework. And what about conservation? Believe it or not, many big cats in captivity are part of genetic insurance programs. Zoos with species survival plans manage breeding to avoid inbreeding and maintain diversity. These programs aim to preserve species like the Amur leopard or Sumatran tiger. Without zoos, these programs would collapse, and some bloodlines might disappear forever. That could mean the end of future reintroduction programs in native habitats. It would shift the burden to already underfunded reserves in the wild. In a world where wild habitats are shrinking, captive populations serve as a genetic safety net. But critics argue that keeping big cats in cages is inherently cruel, no matter the excuse. They point to small enclosures, forced breeding, and unnatural environments. They cite cases where big cats pace endlessly in stress or develop behavioral disorders. They argue that no matter how large the cage, a lion born in captivity is still deprived. A tiger cannot roam 50 miles. A leopard cannot climb 50 trees. Conservation, they say, cannot come at the cost of dignity and autonomy. Banning zoos, they argue, would force us to invest more in wild protection. More land. More corridors. More ranger programs. And a shift in mindset, from owning nature to coexisting with it. If zoos were banned, we'd need radical global cooperation. Governments would need to fund and build large-scale sanctuaries and protected reserves. Veterinarians, ethologists, and conservationists would need to collaborate like never before. Private owners would need to be tracked, regulated, and incentivized to surrender animals. Big cat tourism would need to shift toward virtual experiences or guided wild observations. And society would need to rethink its relationship with predators. Not as trophies. Not as exhibits. But as beings with ancient rights to roam. We also must ask, what about the animals already here? Those born in zoos. Raised by keepers. Bottle-fed. Animals who know only the sound of human voices and the routine of feedings. What do we owe them if the world changes overnight? Compassion? Rest? A quiet place to live out their lives without visitors? Or do we abandon them as relics of a system we now reject? So what happens if zoos are banned? It's not a simple happy ending where cages swing open and lions return to the wild. It's a complex moral, ecological, and logistical reckoning with thousands of consequences. Some animals would be saved. Some might suffer more. Some species might thrive. Others might vanish. The world might become more ethical, but also more uncertain. One thing is clear, the fate of big cats would no longer be behind glass. It would be in our hands, completely, permanently, and without excuse. And whatever choice we make next, the roar of a lion will still echo in that decision.